another video, and hopefully I changed some of the settings so that people can comment. And it was something with like the little pop-up that asks you if you want to make videos for adults or for kids. And it used to be automatically made not for kids so that all the comments would filter through, but for some reason good. But for some reason they would not show, and I don't really know, or just the settings just like automatically change. I don't really know why. But so Curtis, I got you, bro. Thanks for the feedback. This should all be good now. Hopefully, this is the test run. And so your comments should come through, and so you can actually engage with the video. As for the content for today, I was in the midst of making a YouTube video last week, and then I got a phone call and it interrupted the video, and I can't remember what I was talking about. So, trying to think. I can't really remember what it was. But what thoughts have I been thinking? I was recently watching Jack's video or debate with. Okay, thanks for cutting me off, you piece of sh. Who can't drive? Um, Jack's debate with Eric with talking with famous people, and and man, what a debate that I've watched that numerous times. I thought it was very funny, but also, and this is an old video, by the way. So if people are thinking this is new, it's not. But it is very interesting. They were debating about the nature of the information element dichotomies or functional dichotomies, whatever you want to call them, like static versus dynamic, uh, internal versus external, and it was an interesting conversation. Uh, it could have been far more interesting and productive, obviously, if Eric was not doing crack cocaine. That makes him a little either aggressive or just can't, you know. There was so much there that could have been discussed. And Eric just started spurting out on Jack. Again, this is an old video. This is years ago, 6, 7 years ago. 6, 7 years ago. And it wasn't funny. I thought it was funny. But it was interesting. Um Doing kind of an internal critique of socionics, which is good. That's what you're supposed to do with any system is peer into the claims of the system and then show them on their own merits why that system is bankrupt, why that system has no where there's internal inconsistencies, and that is basically an indirect argument against the system itself. And it's a pretty a pretty good tactic to use. That's really what you're supposed to do, and that's internal critiques are fundamental to real debates. Basically, you have opponent A versus opponent B representing two distinct worldviews, arguing positively for their worldview with an opening statement, and the cross examination is the time for the internal critique, where one opponent, one person, will interrogate your position by asking you a bunch of questions about the structure of your worldview, and hopefully through that process, inconsistencies rise to the surface, and you can pull those out of the worldview and use them as arguments against the worldview. And sometimes that looks like in closing statements, the things that you interrogated, the questions you asked in the cross examination will be ammunition for your closing statement. I interviewed or interrogated person A, Joe, and through um, this line of questioning, these are ways in which his worldview collapses, um, and that's kind of the structure of a formal debate in a nutshell. So, doing things like that in any context, whether you're in personality theory or you're trying to handle some domestic dispute, whatever, in your household or you're at work, whatever the case is, these are certain principles you can use in order to divide something and clarify something in order to be productive with it and reach a real conclusion. But you can only do that once you know what a person is actually saying and representing their claims appropriately. Once you start to and misrepresent the argument anymore. And so it's besides all the arguments you have are beside the point because your opponent isn't making any of those points and you're imagining that they are, and then you're using arguments in order to deconstruct a structure or deconstruct a worldview that they're not even representing, and you're talking past each other, and then other people don't get a fair shake at what the opposing worldviews actually are. What are the pros of one worldview versus another? Um, and It's actually interesting. Me and my dad were talking last night. We were talking about uh, certain aspects of politics and economics, just because I was interested in something I was reading about fossil fuels and some of uh, the things that are going on in regards to AI. And Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank is creating a massive data center in Utah. And I was asking my dad about that and the effects of um, the economic effects of that, all that kind of stuff. And where was I going with that thought? Why did I bring that up? Um, Actually, don't remember why I was bringing that up. Oh, yes. Actually, hold on, give me. And we were talking about that, and oh, this is why we were talking about how the public space, the place where ideas are freely able to be discussed and debated, um, for a while has been not a thing because of cancel culture, because college institutions are just indoctrinating the youth. Basically started in the 1990s when conservative professors um, left the universities and they were supplanted by lunatic professor, leftist lunatics, and then indoctrinated Gen Z people into holding to narrative based thinking that's not based in any real facts. In place of facts, long story short, the public space where you could come to you could share ideas freely and worldviews freely. That died away, but it's starting to come back. There are certain people who have tried to regain territory and regain that space. People like Charlie Kirk, obviously, people like Ben Shapiro, people like Jordan Peterson, a lot of the people on the right, generally speaking, were the ones that were advocating for free speech, and they were actually demonstrating their commitment to free speech by going to places that don't condone free speech or claim they do, but don't actually in reality. Long story short, it seems like uh, we are kind of gaining back that space. Elon Musk tactically, taking over X or Twitter, formerly known as, and only making the guidelines pretty much about Like, are you breaking the law with your speech or are you not? Anything that's not against the law, any speech that isn't against the law is prohibited. And you can use other means to contend with someone's free speech, like debating them, exposing their ideas to the rest of the public, and that's a constructive use of your speech, obviously. So, long story short, it's cool to watch debates. I'm a debate bro. I love watching debates. I find them interesting. I love debating. Um, and it's unfortunate when you see debates that in potential could be productive. They could be edifying. They could be stimulating intellectually. They could make you think differently about a certain topic. But because of one or more of the interlocutors who are participating in the debate can't keep their emotions under check, then you can't really draw out what their basic commitments are. This is why informal debates, debating someone at work or at school or whatever the case is, are often unproductive because people are overly emotional and they react emotionally when someone challenges their beliefs or their thoughts or their ideas or their convictions, whatever it is, instead of um, like, and this is kind of an interesting idea too, that there's different ways that you can receive the same information. So if one person's talking to you about something, you can either intuitively understand what they're saying and read into things like the deeper meaning of what they're saying. So they could tell you one thing, which are just the facts of the matter, but mean something completely different than the facts they're representing. Um, or you can tell someone something simply off of the facts entailed in the thing you're telling them. So, for example, if I'm trying to adjudicate um, an argument with my friend and someone else, um, or I'm just telling a story about some event like that, I can tell you all the actual facts of what happened without injecting emotional interpretation into it that'll influence someone's emotions and bias their conclusion, right? So I could tell them um, Johnny walked up to Joe. They have prior conflicts and disagreements. Johnny walked up to Joe. They got into an argument, a verbal altercation. Johnny put his hands on Joe. Joe swung on Johnny. They're X, Y, and Z, whatever. Or I can say Johnny swung on Joe because I think Johnny was mad that Joe was talking to his girlfriend and da 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 da, right? You can add layers to it, interpretive layers that kind of contaminate someone's uh belief or conclusion about what just occurred. That's a bad example, but you kind of get my point. So there's almost like in the same way when you're having a debate with someone or a conversation with someone, you can load your speech up with emotion and de-emphasize the facts of what occurred, or you can de-emphasize the emotions uh, of what you're communicating and emphasize the facts of the case. Um, and when you're in a debate or an argument, whatever the case is, basically the same thing. People don't, because people are really emotional, especially when you start debating with them, they are not hearing the way in which their system of thought doesn't follow, and they're hearing you tell them that because you're trying to have a constructive conversation. They hear, well, you think I'm stupid or da 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 da, right? And it's just interesting how people function. Like, um, but I don't know why I brought that up. I don't even know why that's even in. Yeah, I mean, it's going to take a group of people to continue just saying what they think. And it's better to say, it's better to have good arguments for the things that you think because it's just more productive in the long run. You can mock people and you can do the whole rhetorical game, but that doesn't really I mean, I guess you could say there's some tactical advantage in that when you're debating. It could kind of neutralize someone and force them back to tending to the arguments because someone's mocking me, I can mock them back harder, and hopefully through that they're like, okay, well, I can't just punk this guy, right? Because he'll make fun of me right back. So I'd better just stay to the arguments because this mocking tactic isn't really giving me any leverage in the conversation, which is ironic because you would think mocking someone else back would escalate a situation, and sometimes it can. Other times it is a tactic that you could use back on someone to show them a the stupidity of just mocking someone to do it for its own sake, and b that you're not the kind of person that's just going to allow them to mock you. um so but yeah, because sometimes I'll get like that. I usually respond based on how other people are reacting or dealing with me. Like I don't mock unless I feel like I'm being mocked. uh but if you do mock me, then I'm gonna make point make mock you a lot harder. Which I'm not saying is the best method, but as long as we're both abiding by the same general rules of the conversation, then it can be a good conversation, all things considered. It doesn't mean that we agree. It just means that it's productive. And it having a productive conversation like that looks like I know what you think and you know what I think. And maybe we can reconcile this or not. And if we can't, then either one of us has to be destroyed. Someone has to be detonated. The worldview has to be exposed fully for it to be represented faithfully in my mind. Okay. So, all right, though, y'all. I'm getting ready to leave, and hopefully this posts, but I guess we'll see. All right, peace.